Hiya guys, Crazy Teacher Nick back at you again with a quick video on Analyze, Don't Summarize, the dad jokes version. So today we're tackling one of the biggest misconceptions in AS level English. Students summarize when they should analyze. And this happens because they want to write an analysis in the same way that you would write an analysis of Shakespeare or any type of literature or a poem. Okay? If examiners got £1 every time somebody summarized, they'd have enough to buy their own marking robot. And no, you cannot borrow it for paper too. It's the dad jokes version, okay? So, what do students do wrong? Let's be honest, a lot of students write things like, the writer uses a statistic, or the writer tells a story, or the writer asks the question. You need to be focused on what is the effect on the reader. So that's not analysis. That's just commentary disguised as an identity parade. Okay? Look to see if your answer could be read by a very polite robot with no emotions. Then you are summarizing. Remember, summarizing is saying what the writer said. Analysis is saying why the writer used that device and what is the effect on the reader. It's like explaining a joke. Summary, he said something funny. Analysis, here's why you should pretend to laugh. So don't tell me what the writer did. Tell me how it affects the reader and why the writer used it. Okay, what is the effect on the reader? So we're going to have a look. Analyze like an X-ray. Look inside, not at the surface. Okay, we're going to look at 10 devices with examples. Okay, you're going to see bad examples of where students have summarized and then what the examiners want in their analysis. Let's go. So the device statistics, so the example of that might be over 70% of commuters spend more than 2 hours a day stuck in traffic. A weak summary will be something along the lines of, the writer uses a statistic about commuters. Strong analysis might write something like, the precise figure, 70%, builds credibility and highlights how widespread the problem is, prompting the reader to see the traffic congestion as serious and in need of action. Or if you want to elevate that, you could have something by citing 70%, the writer uses the precision of statistics to create credibility and emphasize the scale of the problem, pushing the audience to view traffic congestion as widespread, as a widespread urgent issue. So the first one is good. The second one is great. Okay, so it does take time to give strong analysis, and my advice here would be is to think about practicing the first strong analysis and then building upon that. So I have to let the kitty in the window. Now we're going to have 3 kitties here. It's going to turn into chaos. Okay. Next. If I had a statistic for how often students summarize, it would be 100%. And yes, that number is scientifically accurate because I made it up. Okay, these are bad. Okay, direct address. So everybody should know what direct address is, right? You might think your morning routine is harmless. A weak summary might be something like, the writer speaks to the reader, or the writer speaks directly to the reader. And because it's got the word reader in, students just naturally assume, yep, I've done my job. Okay, but you need to identify that direct address. So a good analysis would be something along the lines of, the second person you draws the reader into the argument, making the issue feel personal and relevant. Or great, the second person you pulls the reader into the argument, making them feel personally involved and responsible, which strengthens the persuasive impact. Anecdote: when I was 12, I spent every weekend at the library. The library is a place where they've got lots of books. Kind of like a bookstore, but you don't have to buy the books. You can borrow them. Anyways. So the writer shares a childhood story, or the writer shares a story from their childhood. And this is telling what the writer did, not what is the effect on the reader. So the anecdote humanizes the writer and builds trust, encouraging the reader or the audience to value their viewpoint. Better, the anecdote humanizes the writer, creating warmth and relatability, helping the audience trust them and value their perspective on reading. Okay, so good to great. Anecdotes are like dad jokes, personal, slightly embarrassing, and used to make you listen. Okay, there's only a couple more of these, I promise. Okay, motive language. It is heartbreaking to see elderly neighbors suffering in silence. It's heartbreaking. So a weak summary might say something like, the writer uses emotional language, or the writer uses emotional language about elderly people. Okay, so you want to go in for something like heartbreaking, evokes sympathy and encourages the reader to feel moral responsibility. Or words like heartbreaking, and actually you could elevate that even further to describe the word class, and that would definitely push you into that top band. Evokes sympathy, pushing readers to feel moral urgency and to align emotionally with the writer's viewpoint. Rhetorical questions. Okay, a device overused, easy to spot. Make sure you get it right. How much longer can we ignore the damage we are doing to the planet? A weak summary, the writer asks a rhetorical question. Okay, so you want something along the lines of, the question challenges the reader and pushes them to reflect, guiding them towards agreement. Or the rhetorical question challenges the reader and forces reflection, making inaction feel irresponsible and guiding the audience toward agreement. Triadic structure. Any guesses what triadic structure might be? We must reduce waste, protect wildlife, and invest in cleaner energy. So students will write something like, the writer lists 3 things, or the writer lists 3 actions. Okay, stronger analysis, the rule of 3 creates rhythm and makes the solutions sound, organized, and convincing. Better, the triadic structure creates a sense of completeness and momentum, giving the argument rhythm and making the proposed solutions sound organized and achievable. Oh no, another one. Why do writers love the rule of 3? Because 2 feels lonely and 4 feels like too much writing. I don't know. Okay, move on. Contrast. Some communities thrive on innovation while others struggle just to keep the lights on. Weak summary might be something like, the writer contrasts 2 places, or the writer contrasts 2 types of communities. So a strong analysis might be, the contrast highlights inequality, prompting readers to recognize the gap and sympathize with the struggling communities. Better, the contrast highlights the unfair disparity, prompting readers to recognize the gap between progress and struggle, strengthening the call for social attention or support. Expert opinion, again, comes up a lot in persuasive writing, speeches, according to Dr. Patel. So a weak summary will be something like, the writer quotes a doctor, or the writer uses something that the doctor says. Strong analysis, the expert reference adds authority, making the argument more trustworthy. Better, referencing a medical expert adds authority and reliability, encouraging readers to trust the advice as scientifically grounded. Imperatives, take a moment today to check on somebody you care about. A weak summary might be, the writer tells the reader what to do. So the writer uses an imperative to tell the reader what to do, or the writer tells the reader to check on someone. Okay. Strong, the imperative encourages direct action and creates a sense of immediate responsibility. Better, the imperative verb, word class, take, and gives the reader a clear, actionable step, turning abstract concern into practical behavior, which increases the text's persuasiveness. Metaphor. Our education system is a crumbling bridge waiting to collapse. The writer uses a metaphor. The writer compares the education system to a bridge, which is what you get a lot here. Okay. Better, the metaphor dramatizes the danger, making the issue more vivid and urgent. Best, the metaphor vividly conveys danger and instability, making the issue feel urgent and helping the reader visualize the potential consequences of neglect. Okay, so I'm not going to recap everything on this list. Okay, all of them are in. These are the examples, the weak summaries that we normally get from students, and the strong analysis that we would expect. Okay, so you can screenshot it, you can write it out, take notes for yourselves, and keep these in mind when you're looking at devices in the future. Okay, so remember guys, don't summarize, don't have things like the writer uses. You can see how that weakens your analysis. Your job is to focus on what the effect is on the reader. So using phrases like this creates, this suggests, this encourages the reader to. If you can explain how and why, the marks will follow you like a loyal puppy. And yes, if you analyze too hard, you might start analyzing this video. Please don't. I already know the pacing is questionable. Okay, students, please like and subscribe because, unlike your exam papers, I actually enjoy being marked. Okay, that's the last one, I promise. Guys, you're absolutely awesome. This is Crazy Teacher Nick. Rock on.